done now.
Right. Hello, everyone. I think we're good. I think we're alive. I think the technical difficulties have been solved. If so, and if you can hear me, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MOISTMAS Live Political Recap. I am hosting this evening, and many things are moving in the background, but I am your host, Trups LP, joined by the tentacled Cthulhukin himself, Omegon. Say hello, Omegon.
I need this because of that absolute hassle.
Yes, do tell. What was going on, Omegon? It was not your boomerang, was it? It was OBS.
So I hit start stream and it just stayed on connecting. So I changed the stream key. I closed OBS twice. I then had to go into Task Manager. It turns out OBS had somehow created duplicates of itself in Task Manager. So I had to go find all of them and delete them. And all individual tasks, because one wasn't enough.
Yes, I had that same problem with Steam Bootstrapper at times.
Yeah, that's the first time it's ever happened to me. The first time ever. I would say that's hilarious, but it's really not.
Yes.
I'm very low compared to Trups. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what to suggest there, I'm afraid. Because I'll turn Trups down a little. Speak, Trups.
Hello?
Is that any better? I'm not doing that again. I'm not raising my voice.
Is that any better?
Is that any better? Yes, carry on, please. I'm very well if you ask.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. So this is going to be our I would
last one before
assume it's
Christmas.
going to be our last stream before. No, we're not even going to be doing one for Christmas, right?
Oh, damn right we're not. Fuck that.
And then
the
next week after that would be New Year's Day.
I mean, we could do one then if Trups is about. I'll be about.
I should be around. Yeah.
We'll have
the festivities usually don't begin until dark anyway.
I don't really mind.
And by festivities, I mean my own drinking.
Of course. I mean, I'm not. I know there are many creators who do, for example, make content on Christmas Day. I'm not. I can't get away with doing things like that or streaming on that day because it's like streaming on Thanksgiving. You're not going to get an audience, so just don't bother. Take the day off. That's what I'll do.
Yes, and that may be wise because sometimes even the best of us need breaks. Now, I, on the other hand, the reason why I don't do content around Christmas is because I bring a shitty laptop to my house when I go to see my parents. And that shitty laptop is not very good for, well, I'm not about to go bring my whole mic setup to my parents' house
really is there.
so that I can record a politics video and my father put his 2 cents in. However, that would be entertaining.
That would be quite funny, actually. Daddy Trups talking as well.
Yeah, Daddy Trups talking about and with no filter either. He
would with no irony after you tried to run with Daddy Trups on your channel.
I did not. That was something that other people told me. They said it, not me.
Yeah, okay.
I never told it myself.
Mm-hmm. You did a video.
Regardless, I did a video on it, but it wasn't about my kink. It was about other kinks.
Okay.
That's on my channel, by the way. If you're ever curious, it's deep in the fucking recesses. I believe it's a food for thought.
In the description down below.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. But we're not talking about kinks right now, unless your kink is stolen elections.
Yeah. I mean, it's either that or Brexit, which is...
yeah.
I'm just going to say it with equally...
Oh, what did happen? I heard Sunday was the be-all, end-all. Was it?
Nope.
Oh, no, shocked.
Nope. Today is.
Oh, wow.
They have no choice, because it has to be ratified by the 31st. Let's go have a look at the news. It's all coronavirus. A lot of it's coronavirus.
Well, there's good news in coronavirus, which we'll get to after we'll talk about Brexit.
Let's see. Nope. Lockdown's taken over. Let's have a quick look. Let's have a look. Brexit. Because I haven't looked in the last hour. Yeah, Barnier says they've got a few hours left to agree a deal. So, in theory, we've got another 2 weeks.
By the way, smash the like button for all those here. I appreciate all of you guys for being here, and I see 36 watching and only 13 likes. Well, one downvote. That's probably Discomar.
That was there before I even started. It was 6 up, 1 down. I was like, who the fuck did that? Come on, grow up a little.
Pyrocynical.
Sure. I'll talk about Brexit for a bit, shall we then? So I was going to do, and Trops would know this, there are topics I have on a server he and I share where we do our political stuff. And I have one for Moisky News. And I had some video topics planned for Jeremy Corbyn's little peace project because it caught my attention and I thought, oh, whoa, interesting. Other video topics popped up and I just forgot they existed. Brexit, though, it was supposed to be done. That was the video I was going to make. The one where I simply said, oh, hang on. Bon Jovi. Whoa, thank you, Bon Jovi, for the £6 donation.
Were you about to speak out the lyrics?
Yeah, and then I noticed. I mean, I don't mind Bon Jovi, but no. This is not a karaoke stream. So I was going to do a video on Monday. Yeah. The plan was to do one where we said a deal was agreed or no deal. It's done. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, champ. Let's have some fun. But it didn't happen. And do you know why?
Nope.
Boris blinked.
Oh no. Well, I mean, he's got to keep his eyes moist, but why?
He blinked because he has caved a little to the threats of potential damage to the economy because coronavirus has done enough damage as it is. Sorry, sheeple crowd control. Why is YouTube doing that to you, Billy? They still do it. I don't get it. I did see a comment, by the way. I'm very sorry. So Boris has blinked because of all the... it's mostly because of sheeple crowd control. That's cost so much money, he's got to be careful. So he has to be sure that no deal is a definite. He's got a little time. Parliament's in recess. They will have to come back to ratify and vote on this. They have no choice. And it's really frustrating. I get it. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against Boris in this respect because it's an impossible position. I wouldn't hold it against anyone because genuinely, it's frustrating. But I really wanted to make that video of, right, no deal. That's the one I wanted to make. Well, either that or a deal's agreed upon. And go through it. Because that, to me, is worth the attention. But no. They carried on talking. Macron has dug his heels in about fisheries. The EU are kind of digging in a little when it comes to our sovereign rights. It's like, you don't get any fucking say over that, you fucking cunts. Piss off. And then obviously Macron tested positive, so he's not involved much now. Some other prime ministers and leaders and other European nations have tested positive for sheeple crowd control poison. And yeah, I'm just sort of sat here thinking, well, this is fucking lame, isn't it? I can't be arsed. Can we just have no deal now, please? I don't like that I haven't been making content here. It's why I did a PMQ stream, actually, because even though it was kind of dull, I kind of wanted to do something to be active here still. But it was frustrating when the circus of coronavirus is what's taking over, and I don't want to go near that subject. I want to talk about what's actually happening. But then somebody did message me something, and I put it in our little area. Something so interesting. Like, I mean interesting on a different level of interesting. It's the Online Harms White Paper.
Okay.
It's a way of preventing illegal discussion or handling illegal discussion. And now this is about making UK the safest place in the world online, where people can start and grow digital businesses. So this paper is entirely around the results from consultations, and the government then clarifying the direction when it comes forward, right? So so their arguments are, let's see, internet to increase internet use, of course, to make sure everyone has access to it. To make sure their regulatory actions are robust, to set out extensive evidence of illegal and harmful content and activity taking place online. So, for example, with illegal content and activity, there are, for example, more than 69 million images and videos related to, and then related to relative crime things I can't possibly say on this channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
They
Right.
want to make sure that everything that goes through the internet is filtered 100%.
So that sounds very cyberpunk of them.
Oddly enough, that is one of the comments I saw on Twitter. But they also reference
They want to
terrorism,
make the black hole.
propaganda to radicalize. But then, I'm sorry, how do you deal with propaganda? And propaganda is in and of itself subjective. So how do you police that? That is entirely a political
Obviously,
swing.
it's just whatever. Well, exactly. It's everything that is against their group.
Exactly.
Right? It is.
And
It is them.
so there's also more about tackling disinformation during the pandemic. My view, by the way, is we shouldn't regulate any of this. The internet should be free. It should not be. You can't regulate the internet anyway. All you're doing is curtailing the citizens' right to absorb information and speak freely. That, to me, is a limit on freedom of speech. And so this white paper, this online harms governmental response, it's going to set some regulatory framework, and it's dangerous framework. It's framework I can't support. I was sent this by BitChute. I saw it first. BitChute, then the owner of the company, Ash, is it? Yeah. He sent it to me as well on Twitter, and I'm like, this is fucking stupid. You can't do this. Well, you can, but it's the stupidest thing ever because it just leads to more people saying, oh, look, the Conservatives can't take criticism, so the first thing they're doing is making sure they can't take criticism.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they're making it sure that their people can speak their truth, and I say it that way for a very specific purpose. They can speak their truth, and no one can say anything otherwise, or you're bad or something.
Off to the gulag with you. And to address Cyrene in the chat, Boris is probably trying to run the clock. He probably is, to be fair. And it is petty, Zemgoa. I agree. This is why I don't like this white paper. I might make a full video on it for the political channel because it is really stupid, but I do need to finish other projects on the main channel first. Mm-hmm. If I can, then expect this on Monday perhaps. But it is fundamentally stupid. I'm not allowed to say it correctly. And Brexit's going nowhere. And by the way, I just realised why Bon Jovi donated £6 is because my Christmas target at the bottom there was at £44. It's an even number now.
Oh, I get it. Oh, that's clever.
Thank you.
See, I would not have gotten that, so I'm glad that somebody else did.
To be fair, I only just noticed. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're all failures. Thank you.
Yes, we are. And we don't do Christmas here, Gemma. You should retract that heretical C word. We do MOISTMAS here. But to Brexit, as far as I'm aware, negotiations are still ongoing. But yet again, they've said the same shit. You only have a few hours left. There are large gaps, but we're still optimistic we can get a deal. There are huge gaps, though. Okay, you're just going to watch until Boris blinks again, and then he'll let you fish in our waters? We ain't letting you fish in our waters, you pricks. We're going to move our warships there. If we have to, we'll hire some people from another country to come protect our fisheries.
Quite right, Cyrene. My, your, their truth equals my, your, their opinion. Right.
Exactly.
Because there is no my, your, their truth. It is the truth, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
There is subjective truth, and it is based on interpretation. However, the opinions, or rather the feelings that you get because of certain truth may be valid, but the reactions may be invalid.
So there's only one positive I've seen this year with Christmas, with MOISTMAS and all that, and that is my local corner shop has a bottle of gingerbread Captain Morgan's. I'm going to try and get it tomorrow. That's the only positive from Christmas this year. Of MOISTMAS, sorry. This MOISTMAS has been tragic when it came to happening online, UK politics. Hell, maybe in US politics, because yours is... Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, yeah. Happy fucking New Year, and Merry Christmas. We don't know what's going on.
Fuck me. Yours
Actually, we do. We
is
do
a fucking mess. There's a result, but I made sure to get the correct picture for that thumbnail when I made it after PMQs. I was like, it had to be this one, because there's no other picture I'd rather have as his presidential image. It is.
Oh, then the creepy ass Biden smile.
Yeah. It took me ages to put the flag behind the 46. I was really smart, yo. I created layers and everything. Yeah, I genuinely was.
Basics of Photoshop, right there.
Yeah, I don't have Photoshop, so for me it's paint.net.
Oh dear, I'm gonna get you GIMP.
I've got
free.
to be fair, I've got Clip Studio Paint, so we're good. I hated GIMP, old GUI back in 2015.
Oh, GIMP is awful. I hated GUI. It's such a mess.
It's
but Paint, it's a free option, so
Paint.net is too. But I've got Clip Studio Paint now. I just need to get used to using it. There isn't much to add to Brexit because beyond that, all we know is what's happening now. I'm gonna, before Trups goes off on one once he's regained his composure. With your election that's happened this week, I've heard. So there's been multiple. That's all right. You die. It's fine. The multiple arguments I heard. I'm a pleasant fellow. One was, it's over. Let's move on. Okay, fine. Others, it's corruption because people weren't allowed into buildings that are meant to be in the buildings. The other is the Supreme Court has fucked it because of their own bias. And then there were others as well, but those are the three I remembered quite clearly. The problem I have with the first one is, if we had to put up Russian collusion for 4 years with an impeachment that was utter bogus, then I think those who are on the air quote losing side this time have a right to do the same to you. Not a tit for tat. It's a case of the accusations had merit, and they hadn't been investigated. They were just thrown out. I find that very sus. But
yes, they are.
I'm an outsider, so
yeah.
Go.
Well, I mean, you're right. You're right, because any accusation of impropriety or questionable practices ordinarily would be investigated. If it were anything else, I mean, we had Russia as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was even a thought that this was a case, we should investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't happy that we started that whole fucking investigation, the Russian collusion one, because I thought it was full of shit. But that's probably what a lot of the Democrats are saying about this, even if they, if they don't fully believe that voter fraud happened. But at least it was investigated. It took for fucking ever, and then they impeached him over nothing. But
Razorfist made a good point in his video, The Rageaholic. His point was that the reason the Supreme Court threw it out was because they didn't want to tamper with Constitution and the status quo. So if something was a breach of the Constitution, they didn't want to call it out because of how much damage it would do to proceedings and the status quo.
Yes, but that is also a gross neglect of duties.
Yes,
that is exactly what they need to do.
It was mingled in with a huge rant of his, but it was a very interesting one because I'm not American, so I don't know if he's telling the truth or not.
Yes, I would suspect the same. Now we can't be certain what their intentions were, but we can guess. A lot of these things that they argued that they had lack of standing and all that kind of stuff actually is not necessarily true. The Supreme Court, in one of its primary functions, was to basically deal with problems between the states. That was what it was supposed to be, because again, we are the United States. We are sovereign nations or sovereign states that have decided to work together for security and prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
Under our Constitution, which was basically the guiding rules between all these states. And the Supreme Court often had to deal with disagreements between those states in order to basically figure out what is true when it comes to the federally agreed upon, terms of our federal government. Now, the fact that Texas has a gripe about how Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin had handled their federal election policy is totally within the Supreme Court's right to have a discussion about. The fact that they then dismissed it outright, didn't even have the discussion about it, is a major neglect of their duty, because that is exactly what they need to be
Which
doing.
is the point I think that that Razor Fist really latched onto. Of the only reason you did that is I don't know about the state's individual cases. So his point being, you didn't want to do anything because you knew this would cause disruption to the proceedings.
Oh, absolutely.
And because it's a
if they
constitutional
found
thing,
it,
because it becomes a constitutional issue, even though that's what you're meant to be ruling on, you didn't want to do it in case it harmed the integrity of the election and or the Constitution.
now, apparently, an unconfirmed source said that outside of the Supreme Court's chambers during the discussion about this, John Roberts, our Chief Justice, could be heard fucking screaming at the other justices.
Because he
Allegedly.
disagreed with them, or
Because they think that, well, John Roberts is very much a pussy when trying to do things that would otherwise compromise the status quo of the American system of government.
okay,
So he's a pussy because it would make basically his legacy be that of, you were the Chief Justice who ruled on this that disrupted the election and caused whatever fallout would eventually happen.
right. Well, that's something.
But he needs to do it because that's his fucking job. At least answer the question, have the investigation, and actually make a ruling on it. Their job, the Supreme Court, is to interpret the law. And if the law says this and there's a question on its legality, then that is exactly what the Supreme Court needs to do when it comes to interstate dispute. They need to be able to rule on one way or the other. Otherwise, you have these looming questions. And then you have the question of whether or not the Supreme Court is, in fact, the independent body that we presumed it was. Now, of course, some people will say, no, it's never been that way. You elect partisan people to the bench. Yeah, sometimes, and, like, it happens. But you try to hope that they will be fair in their efforts, right? The same people who would say that the Supreme Court is dangerously close to overturning Roe v. Wade is the same institution that passed Roe v. Wade in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So you have flips all the time, and people only care when it's against their opinions, right? So the reason why John Roberts even has this question of legality that's before him is obviously because the Republicans lost. I don't think if the Republicans won, they would be, calling out for the same thing. But that's just because Republicans, by and large, are partisan themselves. That's why I don't like identifying as a Republican.
Yeah, you're just a far-right extremist MAGA chud.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait to put that fucking hat on my effigy of Donald Trump.
The minute I finish my current notebook, I'm sort of torn between using one of my other magical Star Trek-y ones, or using that
You should get a Biden one, too, and just use it as firewood.
A Biden notebook.
Yeah.
Do they have them?
No, you should just write scribbles on it. Because that's all that Biden
going
to end up being.
Does Biden have an actual store? Here we got one. Oh yeah, he does actually.
I'm sure
he does. Let's have a look. Official merch number 46 on a t-shirt. While you're as creative as YouTubers on Teespring, spoken with no level of irony. Buttons. More buttons. Masks, glasses, lapel pins.
Lapel pins is such a fucking classist
wooden
shit.
Coasters. More face masks. No notebooks. Sorry. Lots of badges,
You're not allowed
though.
to write things down.
Lots of badges. Just loads of them.
God forbid people would write down things that Biden was involved with. They don't want that.
Signature looks
Speaking
like
of which,
by
Hunter
Dementia
Biden.
Riddled man. I do a really very clear signature. I don't know. I'm just being dick. Sorry, guys.
That's
Hang on. No, there's one
Oh.
here. You got a sticker for a sticker. No, it's a donation. You can donate straight your purchase from the store. A donation. Okay. I didn't know you could do that. That's interesting. Okay, move on. Carry on.
Yeah. But anyway, the point that I was making before was that the fucking uh the Supreme Court needs to make a decision. The fact that they punted on it is a real shame. And they really should consider it again. I don't know if they actually can once they dismiss it. Um, so I'm not quite sure. I don't think they can because I think that they would already. I think that eventually they would call that a frivolous lawsuit. But I'm not sure. That one's a weird one if they can actually refile that.
Hmm.
But the problem is that right now, if John Roberts and the rest of the Supreme Court was concerned about preserving the status quo, you're not going to. Right now, because of the divided nature of this country, you are not going to save the status quo. The status quo is going to be broken. Regardless, it is either going to be broken because the Supreme Court refused to answer or because it ruled in a way that made one side angry. You are not going to fucking get away scot-free on this one. The country is just too divided to do it. Annie LN, once dismissed, it can't be heard again. Double jeopardy. Because they never took up the case, they were never technically in jeopardy. Jeopardy is when a case is taken and heard and has the threat of actual recourse. Because they never actually took the case and they dismissed it off outright as being without standing, they were never in jeopardy in the first place. But yeah, they are kowtowing to rioters, and they think they can get away with it because the right has decided that they don't want to be those rioters. But as I was discussing with a couple of my coworkers, let's say that all of this goes, to shit. Well, you've got a government that I believe it was 2 weeks ago that they were purging leftists from Twitter, and something on Twitter was trending. It was like "Stop the Leftist Purge" or whatever. And you have basically, so the left is being purged from these large tech platforms that they thought were their safe spaces. Black Lives Matter tried to get a meeting with Joe Biden's campaign and has yet to respond. Joe Biden's campaign has yet to respond to that request for an audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that the populist left is probably feeling pretty used right now. And the populist right is being betrayed by Mitch McConnell and the other establishment Republicans who are saying, no, don't contest the electoral votes because, it whatever the reason, whether they think it's full of shit or they think it's going to destabilize the trust we have in the election. Regardless, you have Trump voters who are feeling betrayed by that party. So now you have two populist movements that are basically feeling as if they're not being considered, they're not being treated well.
Do you mean
and you're going to have
those who are now, like, first of all, those chastising Mitch McConnell for kowtowing, but others saying the Republican Party needs to split?
Yeah, basically, because you have a populist movement that is brewing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on the right because people who voted for Trump, not all of them were Republican. A lot of them actually were Bernie supporters.
They were.
They just have a different view of how this country should be run.
Mm-hmm.
And they think it has to be done in a populist way and a nationalistic way.
Do you want to explain for the chat what populist means?
Oh, so populist is meaning applying or appealing to the majority, the people, the people's interests. So things like nationalistic policies that bring jobs to the United States and force out things like outsourcing jobs could be considered a populist nationalist move. The other thing is, well, I guess you could call his immigration stance also was populist in the sense that it was also the whole America First idea was a nationalist populist opinion.
Polydub
really.
makes a good comment, by the way. Populist left I would
Let's see
disagree with, but the fringe left is likely feeling used.
I mean, that's fair. That is a good point. But the reason why I bring that up is because you have what essentially could be considered populist movements that are going to find themselves with a common enemy. You're going to have the fringe leftists who have gotten away with looting and violence for the past, what has it been, since May, so 7 months
Right.
of all this. And now you're going to add now right-wingers who think that the government has basically fucked them over. Well, the enemy of my enemy can be my friend. And I seriously believe that we may approach a point if Biden decides to go like really hard against some of these like rioters starting up when his administration takes place. If they do, you're gonna see some crazy shit. Now, when I say that it when the administration might take up, okay. So I don't remember as much of what we talked about last week, but I don't remember if I mentioned that they have submitted dueling electors in certain circumstances.
No.
I think I did mention it.
Well, you might have, but I don't remember, so could you perhaps refresh my memory?
So certain states have submitted, not with governor certification, another set of electoral votes for president.
Okay.
Vice President Mike Pence will eventually go and tally all of the votes in a joint session of Congress, meaning both the House and the Senate.
Okay.
And they will essentially decide, okay, I have two, things of electors here. Whom do I count? And he gets to decide. He could count one side with the governor's certification. He could count the other side because the legislature sent it. Or he could count neither because clearly the state is in a state of dispute.
Oh, no.
Right. So...
Oh, no.
Pence has the ability to turn this all on his head. I don't think he is because he's kind of fucking, hokey and kind of a play-by-the-rules kind of guy.
So
he doesn't seem like the...
There was an article here that talked about this briefly, and the way it framed it seemed a little sus that after doing the vote, he's out of the country for a week. Because people think he's trying to hide from accountability from the Republican Party. And I'm sat here thinking, what accountability? He's a vice former... At that point, if that goes the way it goes, he'll be a former vice president. What does he have to give a shit about? He was at the pinnacle of his career. He doesn't have to care. What kind of accountability are you going to have a go at him for not winning? That's all you've got. Oh, but he didn't rein in Trump. He wasn't meant to rein in Trump. He was meant to be the calm voice next to Trump's insanity. Which, by the way, as an Englishman, I loved.
Oh, no, I think it worked out really well. I think it looked really good to have both of those.
Well, you're meant to have, isn't it? You're meant to have a VP that doesn't...
It balances.
Yeah, you're meant to not draw as much attention. The president's supposed to be the character.
Right. The character is... I'm sorry. The president is the ticket, the head of the ticket, right? That's the the main person of this tag team. He is the oh god, what the fuck was his name? Roman Reigns of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Sorry, WWE joke.
Let's go with for those who are a bit older, he's the Shawn Michaels of the Rockers.
Yeah. Or, Triple H of DX.
Any other tag team you want to think of, except for the New Age Outlaws.
But the other guy is important. Don't get me wrong, and has definitely his moments. But they're not nearly the showstopper. They don't bring the tickets as much as the main guy does.
Nope. But yeah, it's interesting. By the way, I think perhaps now that we've touched on the fact that Pence could do something, but he won't. I don't think he will because that would kind of be irresponsible to the process, and I do think he is very much a man of. I don't. Want to say, I think honor is the correct word. I think he'll follow the rules.
Jerry Lawler, yeah.
So that is old, yes. Perhaps we should now talk about the fact that the votes have in fact been cast.
Yeah. Yes, no, the votes
Because
have
there were
been
issues.
cast for Biden, yeah.
There were some issues, allegedly. People not being allowed into buildings.
Ooh, yes. Okay, so Michigan. Yeah. Michigan, there was a protest outside of the state capitol building the day that the electors went to go and cast their votes. And there was basically a police line the protecting the state capitol. But among the people who were trying to get into the capitol, protests aside, were legislators of the Michigan Congress. And they were also denied entry.
Are they meant to be allowed in?
Yes.
Right, I just wanted that clarified because I'm British. I don't know this.
Absolutely. The fact that you denied legislators access to the Capitol building because fear of, I guess, tampering is kind of crazy. Especially because you would imagine that the legislature should know damn well who they sent to the Electoral College or to vote, since it is their constitutional duty to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that that's not what is what went down here, then that sounds like Texas did have fucking standing, and that brings us back to the Supreme Court question. I wonder if anybody files a lawsuit on that ground.
They might do. It'll probably get thrown out straight away, though, just because process, yo.
A lot of the establishment doesn't want to rock the boat, so it were, because they are afraid of what they don't know. And right now, trying to upend what people will call the faith in the electoral process is very, very dangerous for the future of this country.
It's very dangerous in one very big area as well, because the turnout this time. You're not going to get that turnout next time if you've disenfranchised people this time. And a lot of people say it's because of newer, younger voters. That may be the case. Do you think they're going to vote again, though, if they think their vote no longer matters because the establishment is going to go against them because they've been fed the information that says there is corruption and you've not actually properly debunked it?
They won't come out and vote, but they will take action.
Oh, God, I saw the Civil War stuff on Twitter.
A Virginia congressman called for martial law.
Yeah, you can't do that. Good luck with that.
Yes, you can. You can.
I wish him the best of luck. Hang on. Martial law, is that the one where the army controls the people, or the other way around?
Yeah, basically. It basically says the National Guard comes in and takes over the country.
Best of luck with that National Guard.
Yeah. Well, I say takes over the country because that's what he's basically asking for. Martial law in states also exists, where the National Guard just takes over the fucking state, and that's still also martial law.
No, I don't.
I'm basically going to the upteenth degree right now.
That's such an escalation.
And it is. But there is the same question that you have to ask yourself.
Okay.
Right. If questioning the election results is undermining democracy, then tampering with election results is undermining democracy.
I think
that should be a pretty cut and dry opinion. I don't think that by itself should be anything that is controversial.
So I agree with that, which is why I'm so fundamentally against any social media outlet that has taken a stance of and then censoring. I can't. It's not just that. It's also adding all the disclaimers. If it's being disputed, it's being disputed. You don't need to tell us that. But you also don't need to take a side in it. But because of the way you're censoring dissenting things that question the election, like coronavirus. People are deleting that stuff, and I'm just like, you shouldn't be doing this. It needs to be. People need to be able to hear this. They need to hear just differing opinions. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, not only that, but it's almost irresponsible not to, because we know very well, because there are plenty of fucking news outlets, self-entitled fucking, justice people, who have decided to talk about how radicalization happens.
Yeah.
And radicalization happens when you have cut people off from the mainstream, and they then have to retreat into the darkest corners of the internet, or the darkest corners of their local fucking taverns or whatever, in order to have their voices heard. And the people who will be there to hear them are radicals.
Mm-hmm.
The other ostracized people. When you ostracize the normal people for having different views, you push them into the arms of radicals. It's the same reason why all of our wars in the Middle East ended up happening. We pushed the people from the dictatorship that was Saddam Hussein or was Gaddafi into the arms of the Muslim Brotherhood or the Taliban or whomever. We did that by taking away what existed in the past, because we didn't like how they were doing things. Now, don't get me wrong, Saddam Hussein and all those people, they were doing bad things to their citizens, yes. But we shouldn't have done what we did in that sense, because essentially what we did was we handed it to terrorists.
Yeah, but oil, yo.
Yeah, well, that too. We also wanted the oil.
But it's a weapon of mass destruction, really.
Oh, yes. Well, apparently Iran has an underground nuclear facility, according to Fox News. I'm curious on that one. Rising tensions with Tehran. Fun. I'm sure Kamala Harris will be overly excited to get involved with that one.
I thought it was a joke there, and I don't know what it is.
I don't know either, but I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, the point is that we have a whole bunch of issues that you're going to push these regular people, these conservatives who have genuine gripes about election integrity right now. Even the regular person who has just heard enough things about voter fraud, has seen maybe one or two instances of voter fraud, is questioning to themselves, okay, so, like, I hear you, right? We found this here, and we found this here. And I hear these allegations in all these other places. Are there investigations that are, being done to verify this? Because if you're a normal person, you want to know. And it's not like you're hoping for one result or the other, but you want to be sure. You want to be certain that, in fact, that our elections are, if you are as rose-colored glasses wearing as anybody, you want to make sure that your shit's, solid. You don't want to find out that your country has been lying to you. You want a genuine investigation, which they deserve. The people of the United States deserve to at least determine whether or not there was, in fact, fraud. But if no court will ever hear a case, because not a single one of them, besides the Pennsylvania lawsuit that went all the way through lower courts into the Supreme Court, and then the actual federal Supreme Court basically said, nah, fuck off. That was the only one where evidence was actually dropped, and that evidence was all constitutional. So it was more like constitutional theory than it was, we found X, Y, and Z, and now we have all these things to go look through, or fact finding, and we can actually go in and determine whether this is valid information or not. Enough people are going to start to at least have to question or blindly follow. There's only two options. They either question it or they blindly follow. So I don't necessarily know where it goes from here, but I guarantee you it's not going to be good. And I don't think that some of the people who are out there protecting the establishment fully understand the severity of the situation. I think they think that the right is a monolith that is not going to do anything about basically being taken for a ride. I think that they would be sorely mistaken to think that. But you know, this is my rant.
This has been Trups' TED Talk.
Yeah, again,
No, that's
like my last one.
Okay, so votes have been cast. Biden is, at the moment, considered the president-elect, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So on January 20-something, yeah?
I think it's
21st?
14th, I think?
Oh, sorry, 14th. Whatever.
No, January, it's like either 14th or 16th. One of the two.
Okay, he gets inaugurated in mid-January. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He
But
claims...
the votes have to be first tallied by Congress on the 6th.
Right, that will happen, though. We know that.
We think that.
We think that. So let's say it runs smoothly, and it all gets he gets inaugurated. Trump hopefully turns up, and because there's some people believing he won't. I think if he wants to have, if it does all go through, then for the sake of professionalism and dignity, he should. But at the same time, if he doesn't, it'd be really funny. I think
he will
leave a letter as well for the new president on the desk, and I hope it just says "fuck you." No, I'm kidding. No,
I hope so.
I hope it. I hope it's addressed to President Harris.
I think that is
so. He claimed after the election that he was going to be the president for all Americans, which we now know it cannot be. He can't do that. It can't happen. Right. The politics were divisive. You're a very binary political system. There is no version of a presidency where you can ever say you were a president for all Americans because so many voted against you. Okay? And you're not going to work with them. You're not going to go to Montana and start, working with them, are you? No.
No, he only needed their votes.
No. At best, you're going to pay lip service and push forward some policies. Now, has he started backtracking or pushing? I mean, I had heard about the cabinet, which caused a lot of issues, so I thought I'd address this one now. The cabinet, he wants it to be the most diverse one he could make. And many people jumped on this and said, but that comes across as you're only hiring people of, and then insert all random bits here, or whatever it is that person is, because they are that, and not because of the skills they bring. While this I might be wrong here, I'd like to believe he is at least putting people in positions where they might be qualified, but there's undoubtedly going to be some, a fair few possibly, that are not. And of course, they should be held to account if they're not good enough. But there's no president that that puts people in that are correct for the job anyway, because they've got mates and people.
It's usually friends, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we had it in our country when David Cameron got in. He made his chancellor. He made the chancellor George Osborne. George Osborne has a degree in journalism. He has no economic background, but he was the chancellor for 6 years. It made no sense. But because they're mates, they went to school together, they went to university together, yeah, it made sense. Okay? And so I'd like to believe that he will put some in positions that are not necessarily qualified, but are suitable. But there will be people regardless who aren't. And because of that, people are going to say you only got the job because you're an affirmative action hire of some kind. And that's unfortunate. But I'll be honest, I don't care about the diversity of the cabinet. I didn't care about it when Boris Johnson did it here. I cared about the quality of the work that they could do. And he did, at least because of the way we do our cabinets, they're all politicians. Yeah, a lot of them had incredible experience in relevant fields, so I actually understood it. The Chancellor was an odd one, but it's an interesting one. And so I find it quite fascinating. But to go back to the be a president for all Americans, it is a disingenuous thing to say, and the only way you could ever truly get away with it is if everyone's on your side. And thankfully for you, Mr. Biden, you do have people on side. Those that push the information, in fact, the authoritative voices, who will not be representing about 80 million Americans who voted. 70 million? 80 million? However many voted against you. You don't represent them because you're not actually going to do policies that benefit them. You're going to pay them lip service. And has he backtracked on the on anything yet, like the 6-week lockdown or anything like that yet, or is he still pushing forward?
I don't think so. Right now, he's been doing a bunch of cabinet appointments, and the most recently was the deputy chief of staff, who, in the same breath as called for unity in the for the Republican Party, called Republicans, quote, fuckers.
I don't know what the context is.
Basically saying we need unity, but the problem has been these Republican fuckers.
Oh, yeah, you can't do unity.
So it's like, yeah, unity, right? Unity.
74 million. Thank you, Disconar. 74 million. That's not. That's pretty shit.
And so a lot of people are calling them out, and some high-ranking Democrats are actually agreeing, and a lot of them are saying, no, don't say that.
It is the most unprofessional thing you could... I mean, if you want to give Trump shit for not being presidential for 4 years, you are going to be held to the same standard. I'm sorry, but I mean, I found it funny, and I still think calling... I mean, I think it's pretty funny anyway, but if you're going to hold someone else to the same standard, you've got to be as good as if not better. I'm sorry.
You basically have to be the bigger person.
Yeah, and you're not if you're calling for unity and then being a cunt at the same time.
Exactly. And they apparently, that person then had to basically retract that statement and actually apologize for making said statement.
Good for them.
I think which they did, but I think it was under duress.
No, well, that's about as genuine as it gets, isn't it?
For the Democrats, yes.
Oh, I meant in the sense of it's equivalent to a YouTube apology.
Oh, absolutely, that too. I mean, of course, you expect people to actually believe the things they say in 2020. Please.
Current year, don't talk shit.
Oh yeah, current year.
I can't believe we're still doing the current year thing. That thing died in 2016, and we brought it back.
Yeah, because everything that was dead came back to. Come back in 2020. Even the voters.
Yeah, you're right. I like that.
But that's what we're looking at right now. Now, the good news, right? We do have good news today.
Oh, we do.
And that is that Pfizer and Moderna have begun to roll out the vaccines for COVID, and there are people in the UK and in the US who have started getting vaccinated, and I think that this is a total win. What do you think?
I think it's a big win. It does explain why 7 million doses of medication are not coming to the UK, though, until, mid next year, because they were coming from your country, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know from which? Oh, you know if it was coming from Moderna or Pfizer?
We have to deal with Pfizer, so I believe it was them.
Okay, because Moderna just got their FDA.
Yeah, no, it definitely would be Pfizer. It was announced earlier today, 7 million doses or something would not be here, or we wouldn't have them until mid next year. Because I believe somebody, and I get it. That's fine. That's great. Somebody had stepped in and said, "Yo, we're first." Which,
I mean,
I get it.
Apparently, Germany is not too happy with it.
I don't care about Germany.
Yeah, fuck Germany.
Don't actually. You know what? I'm going to complain about this for a second. So, anecdote time, everyone. My brother-in-law has been afflicted with what I normally call the sickness. He actually has man flu. Now, he and I are very polar opposite in this, in the sense that when I'm afflicted with man flu, or the sickness, it takes a shitload to bring me down. I'm just not... I'm the guy... I like to be busy, I like doing things. So I don't stop. Whereas he He is the polar opposite. If he so much as does this once, that's it. Game over. He is out for like a week. The problem is, his son, the very heavily disabled kid with the epilepsy and all other issues, he's immunocompromised. And because of this sheeple crowd control nonsense, he has to get a test done. A rather lovely little swab at the back of his throat done. But he wouldn't get it done because my sister didn't have to have it done. The problem is, she doesn't have to because she's not sick. He is. Now, she could have the symptoms. Yes, perhaps she should have had it done. So she got the test. She had one ordered. Problem with that is, she's done hers. It's been sent off. It's there. It's gone. He lost his, so he hasn't done it. And he's now recovered from man flu, but we're stuck in a position of I can't, in good conscience, hang out with him until I know for certain what it was. Even though I firmly believe it was man flu, because he's a fucking he doesn't take. I take multivitamins. I make sure I take B12 and everything else. I basically make sure that, like, if I ever get a headache or a slight feeling at the back of my throat that I might get sick, I pound every cough sweet lem syrup ever, and I'm fine. I never get sick. It doesn't happen. Okay. He though, it's just, I don't know. It's very irresponsible because of his son. I just find it incredibly discourteous and rude, because all we had to do was take the test and get it over and done with, so we didn't have to put up with it. And I did see that the nurse had passed out, but she did give an interview saying that she had a pre-existing condition that kind of caused her to faint. But I don't know the context beyond that. And I'm not necessarily a tank. I just don't care. So if I get, I don't want to stop. So I won't. I don't know.
I don't know. That sounds pretty complicated, honestly.
It's frustrating to me because we're spending Christmas together, and he has to have that test done. Because it's for the betterment of his son. You've got to be responsible. I mean, I know people on the fence about this. My view is, my nephew is more valuable to me than anyone's opinion. I don't give a fuck what people think about what's going on in the world right now. My concern is always going to be him first. I promise you that. So I don't care if people believe it's real or not. I really don't care. I care that he comes back negative. That's it. Anything else, and I don't give a fuck. Right? And that sounds really rude, but I'm very much, I'm not even on the fence on this. He comes first. There's no argument here. Take the fucking test. I'm not asking much here, okay? It's a fucking cotton swab at the back of your throat. Carers have to have it done 2 to 3 times a week. My dad is a dustman. He has to do it at least once a week.
I mean, you're right. There's just...
You just do it.
It does have the same kind of thing, though, where, I mean... it's hard if you have people who... There are those who don't believe that the virus is concerning, but then you have the people who are immunocompromised who are genuinely then at risk.
That's the only reason I care. He's the only reason. Otherwise, I don't care. But only because of him, I care. And it's only because it's his safety that matters. I don't care if I get sick, because I don't. But if I did, it wouldn't matter. My sisters and I spoke about this. It was like, if any of us, because the log cabin's now been built, if any of us had to self-isolate, we'd just stick that person in the log cabin for 2 weeks. We'd, send them food and some kind of portaloo.
I was going to say, you're locking them in fucking isolation.
Hey, look, they'd have access to a downstairs bathroom. It just wouldn't be allowed to interact with the rest of the house. That's the separation. They'd have a log cabin, which is 2 bedrooms and a living room. I mean, that's pretty decent. You just don't have electricity. Take a Yankee Candle and you're golden, okay? Take some Harry Potter novels and you're fine. I don't know. Maybe we'll give you maybe we'll put an extension cord in there with a DVD player. I've got the whole season, all 11 seasons of MASH. I would literally watch that for 2 weeks. I'd be very happy, by the way.
I bet. I mean, I get it. I understand that
I know people are going to have
there's
differing
concern.
opinions in the chat, but my view is very much he matters to me the most. And so when people talk about the tests and why they won't take them, that's a you thing. In my life, it's it's him. Thoughts on NHS's equitable vaccine distribution policy taking ethnicity into account? Is that because there was a study earlier in the year that said people of colour were more likely to get affected by coronavirus or die of coronavirus, I believe, because the infection rate's a strange one. How's the
Mm.
Wi-Fi? The Wi-Fi's pretty good, actually, Skog, in there, I have to say. If you want to come down and stay, by all means, let me know. We'll look after you. Another thing people talk about when it comes to coronavirus is the death rate, don't they? Because it is, even though the absolute number is quite horrible, the percentage from infection is actually really low. It's such a dark area. This is why I find, and I guess this goes back to Biden, because I really want to get back onto politics on it, because I don't actually know what the equitable vaccine distribution policy is. I'm afraid, Polydub, it's not something I knew about. I do apologise. Is that he wants to shut the country down for 6 weeks, and I was hoping he would have said, "Okay, yeah, we're not going to do that now." Has he said anything about that then?
I don't know. I think he said the last thing I heard was that 100 days wear a mask and that's what he wants right now.
Right.
But I haven't heard him retract the previous thing that he said. So take that as you will. I'm not sure.
Oh, inclusive approach to vaccine allocation. That's what it's about. Okay. Polydub, that is actually, if I'd known more about this ahead of time, and I do apologise, this could be a far more fascinating discussion. I'm looking at something now.
Something to look into.
Well, yeah, because it references other issues of the last 2 days: Ebola, swine flu, HIV,
Well,
hepatitis
okay,
C.
so some of those I understand a little bit more because they disproportionately did actually affect. Like the thing is though, what they're telling you and what actually is true is slightly different. So what they're telling you is that it disproportionately affects people of color. What they're actually trying to tell you is that a vast majority of people of color are not doing well.
No, I will.
I would call it more of a social class issue than I would call it a race issue.
I'll
Because that's the biggest lie that exists in American politics.
Yeah.
Because when they say it disproportionately affects race, well, our poorest class is white people. But that doesn't mean that other poor classes don't exist. But the poor white people are often lumped together with the upper middle class white people, so it skews the data.
Yeah.
Which makes it look like white people are doing a lot better than a lot of them are.
That's interesting. I have, for the sake of it, I've linked something to Trupp's about this equitable distribution because it's a fascinating read. But I have to save it for another time because I don't have time this evening to go through it. And nor do we actually at this point. So I guess I have a final question, I guess.
Sure.
How do you feel now that Biden is essentially your president?
I'm prepared to see the right start going tit for tat, and I really think they will. I don't believe that they're going to tolerate having played this game with the Democrats for the last 4 years.
You know what will happen.
I don't think they're going to take that laying down. I think they're going to start making a fuss.
There's a problem with that. It's all those that support those more left-leaning, or the Democrats in this, will just say they're acting like children, and that will get spun to the mainstream regardless, even though that's what we saw for the last 4 years, and any information like that said that people on the left were acting like children was utterly buried.
What's more likely is that they're going to start calling the right terrorists.
That was only a matter of time anyway.
Well, they already are, but they're going to start doing it more, especially if the protests get violent. They're going to call them terrorists.
Okay.
And I think that that's going to be the moment in which people start to realize who the actual fascists are.
Okay. So that was my final question, but
You know,
where do you sit on that? You know, where will you be?
honestly, I don't disagree with the future of protests. I think it needs to happen. Right now, the American people are being taken for granted. I honestly think that sitting back and doing nothing only perpetuates and only proves that they can do this to you with no recourse. I think that's wrong. I think that's against what Americans stand for. I think that's against what we built this country for.
Okay.
I think that people need to do something.
Okay. Well, that's all I had to ask because I was genuinely curious what you think on this issue. And we managed to piss 5 people off. Hi, sorry about that, by the way.
I don't.
I think it's when I was talking about coronavirus, actually.
Probably. But do you have anything to shill before we go? We are going to be gone for the next week or so.
Yeah, we won't be here next Friday. I will try and make some political content here. But other than that, I'll be active on the main channel. I'm trying to finish The Raven for Moisky Reads. I will be streaming on Omegon Plays tomorrow at 7 p.m. GMT, some Euro Truck Simulator, because I'm exciting. What about yourself? Do you have anything to shill?
No, I do not.
Go subscribe to Trups unless you're a fascist. Sorry, I just...
Thank you.
Give him the best Meggy MOISTMAS present ever and subscribe to him.
Yes, thank you. But with nothing else to show, I'm going to thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for the guys who hit the like button, for the 5 who hit the downvote. Thanks for the interaction. Still helps us.
Damn right.
Get them. But yeah, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys and say goodnight, Omegon.
Good night, Omegon.